It doesn't begin with a frantic late-night email or an obvious link promising quick wealth. It begins with something entirely mundane, a single unprompted message resting at the top of your notifications on a rainy Tuesday while you're cooking dinner. The profile belongs to someone who feels real, not a runway model, but someone with a slightly warm smile, an unpretentious bio, and pictures that look like candid memories rather than stock assets. A mistyped username, they claim, an accidental message meant for a former colleague. You reply politely to correct the mistake. Within 48 hours, that polite correction turns into an ongoing dialogue. You are financially stable enough to live comfortably, but you aren't wealthy, and a quiet, underlying stretch of isolation has been coloring your weeks. That targeted attention acts like a subtle, welcome drug, lifting the edge of your routine. What makes modern intimacy fraud so devastating isn't the speed of the sting, it's the patience of the setup. For 3 weeks, nothing is requested. No money is mentioned. No investments are pitched. Instead, they build a quiet, customized presence inside your daily life. They ask about your commute. They remember that your mother has a doctor's appointment on Thursday. They send voice notes during their morning walk, soft, casual conversations with background traffic noise that feel impossible to fake. You start checking your phone during dull moments at work. You find yourself smiling at your screen while standing in line at the grocery store. You aren't falling for a financial pitch. You're falling for the feeling of being remembered by someone who seems to have all the time in the world for you. By week 5, the communication shifts off the main social platform to an encrypted messaging service like Telegram or WhatsApp. The excuse is simple: better notification sync, or a desire for privacy away from public algorithms. What you don't realize is that this is a tactical isolation move, removing you from the safety reporting systems of a primary app and drawing you into a private room where no one else can flag the conversation. Then, the testing phase begins. It never starts at $5,000. If a stranger asks for $5,000 out of nowhere, your instinct kicks in and you block them immediately. The entry fee is $50. It shows up as a trivial, temporary problem, an app glitch while paying for coffee, a temporary lock on a credit card while traveling, or a minor regional transaction fee. You send the $50 through Zelle or a peer-to-peer app without hesitation. It feels less like a loan and more like a small gesture of solidarity between two people building something real. 2 days later, they send $60 back with a grateful message, insisting on adding a little extra for your trouble. Your brain registers 2 fatal pieces of data. First, that this person keeps their word. Second, that sending money to them is entirely safe. From that moment, the scale changes exponentially. The narrative shifts from small conveniences to compounding crises. A short-term customs fee on personal belongings stuck at an international port. A sudden administrative hold on a business account that requires a verified third-party transfer to clear. A medical emergency involving a relative in a country with strict upfront payment rules. Every request arrives wrapped in high emotional stakes, extreme urgency, and the absolute assurance that every dollar will be reimbursed the moment a pending contract or wire clears on Friday. Your rational mind tries to raise a quiet objection, but the psychological trap is already set. To stop sending money now means accepting that the previous transfers are gone, and worse, that the intimacy was fake, so you send $1,500 to protect the $800 you already sent. You aren't just transferring funds, you are financing the survival of your own hope. The breaking point arrives on a Thursday afternoon. Over the course of 12 days, you have authorized 4 separate transfers. You have completely drained your liquid savings of $2,800. You have maxed out a zero-interest credit card for $1,400. You have drawn $800 from a short-term overdraft facility. Total damage, $5,000. You sit in your car in a credit union parking lot after authorizing the final transfer, having delivered a practiced lie to the teller about paying an overseas contractor for a home renovation project. You wait for the confirmation message that never arrives. You refresh the chat window. Suddenly, the profile picture disappears, replaced by a generic gray outline. The status line changes to Times user unavailable. You open your laptop that evening in the dark of your living room and run a reverse image search on the photos you saved. Within 3 seconds, results flood your screen. A personal blog belonging to a mid-level architect in Vancouver whose Instagram account was scraped 4 years ago. There was no single person on the other end, only a rotation of shift workers using a standardized script manual. The aftermath of financial scamming is defined by a deep, paralyzing embarrassment. When you sit down with a fraud specialist at your bank the next morning, the conversation is cold and administrative. Because you personally initiated every Zelle transfer and bank wire using multi-factor authentication, the transactions are classified as authorized. The bank cannot reverse them or claim them under fraud insurance. You go to the police station to file a report, but the officer explains that proxy networks in foreign countries prevent local investigative leverage. Now begins the quiet, grueling process of absorbing a $5,000 deficit on a normal income without letting anyone know. Your credit card debt is now accruing interest at 29% annually. Your bank balance sits at $43.12 until your next paycheck. You build a strict survival budget on a hidden spreadsheet and start taking gig economy delivery shifts from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. 4 nights a week. You sit in idling parking lots outside fast food restaurants in the cold, waiting for delivery prompts. Every order completed becomes a small unit of restitution. You invent a dozen mundane lies to protect yourself from the single truth that you traded your life savings for 3 months of fake messages from a ghost. 8 months later, the financial ledger is finally back in the black. The credit card balance reads 0, and the savings account has recovered. But what cannot be repaired is the fundamental shift in how you navigate the world. Your vulnerability has been replaced by a quiet, protective cynicism. You have learned that the most dangerous place to be isn't a dark street at night, it's alone in a quiet room with a phone, holding a conversation with someone who tells you exactly what you've been waiting to hear. How to protect yourself. 1. Never send money to someone you haven't met in person. No matter how deep the emotional bond feels, or how severe the sudden emergency appears, never transfer funds, cryptocurrency, or gift cards to someone you have only interacted with online. 2. Conduct a reverse image search. If an online connection's photos or profile feel too polished, convenient, or artistic, run their images through a reverse search engine like Google Lens to verify whether they belong to someone else. 3. Maintain digital skepticism with new contacts. Be deeply suspicious if a casual wrong number text or accidental message rapidly evolves into an intense, daily emotional relationship that eventually introduces financial friction or requests for privacy.